Well, I think the symphonic style that they brought to Hollywood became really the standard for the beginning of sound. I mean, you have to remember that sound recordings were introduced just before Steiner and Korngold started to write scores in Hollywood. So the scores that they wrote really kind of defined, in a way, what Hollywood was, because there was no music being used in silent films except for classical music, really. Well, for me, I think the beginning is always the word. The words are the most important, and I like to read. I like to read a lot about the subject I'm working on, and I like to be reading also while I'm composing. So the words are the ideas of the story, the basic foundation for the story, the dramatic ideas inherent in the novel or the play are really what I'm interested in. I think Tolkien created a work that's just fascinated readers since it was published in the early 50s. And it had an enormous following before we even began work on it. And I was also one of those followers. I mean, I read the work in the 60s, so it's developed a huge group of fans from people all over the world that love this work and have read it. And I was fortunate to be able to write a piece of music about it, and really as a mirror image of what Tolkien wrote, but I'm writing, of course, a piece for symphony orchestra and chorus and children's chorus. But I was able to interpret as best that I could in the time that I had his work into a music work that I think reflects his writing, and I think that's the essence of the interest in it, is his great story, really, and then my work reflecting what he wrote. The Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, was really everything I knew about film music. It was a culmination of years and years of work, working in a lot of different genres, and then everything I knew or understood about music and about drama went into that story. The Lord of the Rings is the product of a great collaboration on all facets of filmmaking: cinematography, editing, production design, directing, acting, composition. It shows how through a wonderful collaboration to create Tolkien's work, you could create something much better than the parts of which I've just mentioned about making a film. And this allowed, I think, a way for us to achieve something that was much greater than we ever imagined setting out to do. The work that I did on The Lord of the Rings compositionally took close to 4 years, and it's approximately 10.5 hours of music that I created for the complete trilogy. That includes all of the extra work that was done on the extended versions. That's the complete work, really. I think over the years that I worked on it, I was like the dwarves. I just delved deeper and deeper into the mountain, and I kept working away at it. I wasn't really sure what I really had until it was finished, because I was so involved in writing it. And it was actually years later that I kind of sat back and took a look at it and thought about what it was and what I had created. And once I did the release of the complete recordings, which is a 10 CD set of all the music from the trilogy, it was really the first time that I had actually heard all the music, actually sat down and listened to it in its entirety. And then Doug Adams wrote a really wonderful book about it, which is coming out this year, finally, after many years of working on it, that analyzes the work and talks about the themes and the leitmotifs and the orchestration and other aspects of the work, the choral writing, the text that was used for the chorus. He put it in such a form that actually I was looking, it was something I was doing while I was doing it through my notebooks, but it wasn't until Doug put it into such a form and I actually could listen to all the music that I really began to understand it, what was really created. In Lord of the Rings, the story had such great bones, it had such good structure to it, that the music that I created for it, it inherently inherited the good structure of the Tolkien novel, which gave it good shape and it gave it good form, and it's what a symphonic concert for a full evening strives for. And so I was just lucky, really, to have such a good structural dramatic form to work with, and I could create a piece that had good storytelling, a good narrative to it, and I think that's what drives it. She's an incredible artist, and I had worked with different artists and different singers during the making of the trilogy, but Annie I always had hoped to work with, and it was till when we finally got to Return of the King, and I asked her to collaborate with Fran Walsh and I on the song Into the West, that it was just a wonderful collaboration with her. She was very creative, very wonderful artist to work with. Yeah, so it's an honor to receive the award, and John Barry's work is, of course, superb and wonderful, and sets a very high standard for the award. And I'm absolutely delighted to be accepting it.